What's going on, YouTube? My name is Marcus, aka Apostle, and today we are going to talk about how to counter stone shapers. Now, it's really super simple. All you have to do is you have to take, you see this like big key on the bottom of your keyboard, this one here. You just take that and you hold it down. All right, that's it. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Twitch stream. See you guys later. Are all the stone shapers gone? Alright, let's get into the real tips. Okay, now that all the dirty stone shapers are gone, we can talk about how to counter them. So, obviously, the best class to counter stone would be Tempest, because you can just stay off the ground for so much longer than everybody else. The goal against stone is just to get off the ground and get out of their availability to hit you. Why did I use those words? Basically, using a stone gauntlet is all about positioning. So you just want to not be in the position to where they can hit you, and in the air is obviously the best place you can be. So Tempest keeps you in the air for a long time, and you could also use dexterity if you're really struggling. You don't have to, but that's probably the easiest way out. I don't recommend it. Tempest isn't the greatest right now. But let's hop into this lobby, and then we can talk about some other cool stuff. Alright, so like I was saying, Tempest, you got your wind jump. Keeps you off the ground. Stone can't hit you. So, we're going to talk about, first off, countering the stone gauntlet as a whole. And then next off, we're going to go into what is probably the strongest build at the moment, at least in squads. And that's the Harmony, Fervor, and Recovery build on Stone Shaper. And that is it just offers such a crazy amount of sustain, and if they hit you with stone, it does such a high damage. So it's really strong right now, and I think that's what most people are struggling with. So we'll get into that, but first let's just talk about the basics of the stone gauntlet. So I'm sure most of you guys know stone is better at going down things than going up things. Like if I hit this little ledge right here, see, the stone stops. It gets here and it stops, but if I go down it, right, it'll go all the way down and hit that wall. So if you're fighting a stone shaper, it's all about your positioning. If they are down here, they're most likely going to be pushing you. Usually if you run into a stone shaper, especially if they're running the Harmony Fervor Recovery build, they're just going to be running at you and slamming stone most of the time. They don't have a whole lot of mobility, and a lot of them just rely on hitting stone shots because it just does so much damage. They don't really rely on their other gauntlet. So the reason that the fact that they're holding their W key on you and just pushing you really hard is big is because that means they're following where you're going, right? So the goal of a stone shaper is to keep you in an open field. Like, you never want to fight a stone shaper in an area like this. Like, if you are out standing right here and you're fighting a stone shaper, you're dead. It's just over if you don't get out of it. So they're going to be W keying you, right? So they're running at me like this, and say, I'm right here trying to fight them. So what you should be doing is using your levitate and just kind of feathering it. You see you can stay in the air if you look at the mana bar. If you just hold space, you can levitate pretty high up, but you're just going to fall right back down to the ground, right? But if you can feather it, you can cover a lot more distance, and you can actually just back completely up onto something else. So first things first, if you're in an open field against stone, just assess the situation and move to where they have a disadvantage. So this castle, for instance, you can come up over here and come up this way, do some damage. Basically, you just have to learn how to kite the stone shaper around. Like I said before, they're usually hyper aggressive and constantly pushing you, so you're just gonna have to get used to kiting and running away and doing damage as you're running away. They're gonna follow you up here, right? So then all you have to do, jump back down here, try to break line of sight, because I'm pretty sure stone will go down stuff like this. It's really hard to tell sometimes. That's a big thing about stone, is you don't really know what it will go down and what it won't. So this is a pretty almost 90-degree angle, and the stone shot went straight down it. So what you can do with this, so you see how as you're looking over this cliff, you can see all this stuff out here. So let's keep an eye on that mark. So this is where he can see. This is the bottom. So what you want to do is you want to stay in this little pocket here where he can't see you. Because if you're right there and he's up here, he's going to have to come all the way to the edge to see you. And then by that time they're probably just going to fall off and chase you. They're usually not going to keep the high ground, and then you can bait them, especially if they fall off. Then all you got to do is go back up here, hit them some, they'll hop back up, you hop back down, and you keep just playing this game of cat and mouse and switching up the heights that you're fighting at. So you want to play that little pocket of where they can't see you. Stay close to the wall. Try to move a good bit, especially right after you fall, because as soon as you fall down here, they're going to know, obviously, to aim. If you fall right here, they're going to know that you landed right there. So your goal is just to be not where they think you are. Which sounds obvious, but I mean, when you're in a fight, you don't really think about that all the time. So you really just want to break line of sight, and you want to just not be where they expect you to be. You can be behind trees. You can really take any type of cover that you want. You got to be careful with trees though, because sometimes stone will hit you. It'll go like right along the edge of the tree like that, and if you're standing here, it'll hit you. But really, you want to break. You want to just be able to break. It's not even line of sight. I don't know how to describe it, but just break the pathing, I guess is the word I'm looking for. That is the main disadvantage about stone, is that it doesn't have good pathing. I mean, even look at this. This is not very high off the ground. You can just come up over here. It'll climb up that little bit, but come up over here, and it doesn't really go up. But you can see it went up a little bit, so you definitely don't want to be on the edge. And it's like I said, it's kind of inconsistent, and that's what makes it hard to play against. So try to stay a little bit back, and try to always keep the steepest part of the object that you're standing at in between you and the stone shaper. And that doesn't mean just like standing up here, right? What you can do, say he's pushing you from over here and you're up on there, right? He's going to be slamming, he can try to jump up here, and he's most likely going to try to jump up here. And what you can do is you can even just back around the corner and kind of levitate and take some pop shots around the bend, and then you can just play around this little thing, and he can't get around to you, but you can jump up and do some little pop shots and do what you need to do. And these wind shears are wide. I never realized how wide these things are. Look, I'm not even aiming anywhere on this guy. I guess they do look pretty wide, so it fits. But yeah, so 100% of fighting stone is breaking that pathing, not letting the stone shot be able to get to you, and just making sure that they can't hit you with it. Because this shot right here, I mean, let's go back over to this dummy. I'm gonna break my mana because I've got focus mana. I don't want the increased damage. But if you do one shot, it's 45 damage from a gold stone. I'm gonna grab a blue one real quick. Let me break focus mana. It's 42 from a blue one. So it doesn't, like, even not having a good stone gauntlet, 3 damage is nothing. It's literally nothing. They're gonna hit you really hard, and if you're not paying attention, you have your back turned to them, you're gonna get hit like 2, maybe 3 times, and then that's 120 damage just out of the gate before you even start the fight. So you really always want to keep an eye on the stone shaper. This is something that I struggle with, not keeping an eye on them, but especially with the Harmony, Fervor, and Recovery build, where they can just slam their health back up, and then Recovery recovers their health if you get them down to health. And it's just really strong and almost impossible to kill them. If you're fighting a team and there's multiple stone users, and you could tell that their talents, that they have recovery, and that they're just spamming stone like crazy, try to avoid fighting the stone shaper as long as possible. It's hard, but I mean, all you really have to do, like, if you can get up on something like this, even against a stone shaper, yeah, they can hit you with their boulders, but what's a full boulder do? Like 50 damage? That's if they hit you right away. And it's not super easy to hit you direct impact with a boulder from down below. You can usually dodge it, or, I mean, all you really have to do if they throw a boulder is this, right? And then you're kind of out of the way. So even staying up here, you can usually break their damage, and them being focused on trying to hit you will usually prevent them from slamming the ground and building up their shield. But so basically, like I was saying, you want to not focus the stone shaper in squads. If there's like an ice player, he's going to do a lot of damage to you, but he's also going to be squishy. So I would go for like the ice player in the back. You want to pop somebody else and then kind of play around that downed player to get the stone shaper to make a mistake. In areas like this, all you really have to do is just jump around, go in circles. You don't even have to run in a straight line to kite somebody. You can just go in circles and you can kite them down, back up, back over the wall, and then they are just going to have such a hard time hitting you. It's going to make their stone a lot less effective. Now, the thing that makes stone so frustrating, especially with Fervor, which is the increased attack speed talent, is the fact that, like I was saying earlier, they can hit you 2 or 3 times before you even know they're there. So you really want to make sure that you have your focus on the stone player if you're fighting a squad, but you are focusing your damage on somebody else. In the time it takes you to kill the stone user, the other players on their team are gonna do so much damage to you, even if the stone player never hits you. You're just gonna end up dying from everybody else anyways. So if you can just focus on kiting around the stone player in circles, but also kind of chasing their teammate. So you want to play around things like this, and if you have the pressure on their teammate, you're playing the opposite, right? So essentially in this is the opposite as if you were the stone user and you're just W-king somebody, right? But you have a stone user on your tail. So if you're chasing somebody, you have the ability to kind of herd them to where you want to go. So so you know over here is more open. This is where the stone user wants you. He wants you in this open area, and you need to be able to recognize that. So what you can do if you're chasing somebody, say they're up here and they're running towards that area, you can dash this way and you can kind of try to cut them off and keep going this way, and it avoids this whole area, and then it'll also push the other player back out that direction, which isn't the best because that's also an open area for stone. But you can push them in the direction that you want them to go while you're chasing them and you're avoiding the Stone Shaper. And that's going to make the Stone Shaper like way less effective. They're not going to be able to hit you with anything. Their sustain is basically useless because you're not damaging them. So you can just basically negate the stone player, make it's not necessarily a 2v3 because you still have to play around it. And if you make like a tiny mistake, you're going to get punished hard because that's just how stone feels at this point in time. Is you make one mistake, you touch the ground for a second, and then it's 50 damage. It's pretty rough, but if you can just avoid the stone player and then kind of come back and fight them later, that makes it in teams a lot less effective. But it's obviously not the easiest thing to do. Personally, I think stone is way stronger in teams than it is in solos, and the reasoning is because you really have to keep an eye on that stone player. You have to have your focus on them. It's very similar to ice, to where it's like if you just let the ice players sit out and snipe at you, you're gonna get hit. Eventually you're just gonna get hit and you're gonna take a bunch of damage, and it's gonna put you in a very bad position in the fight. But ice players aren't necessarily running at you so much. They're usually probably about this far away from you, from here to that wall. And what you can usually do is just break line of sight real easy on ice players. But with stone, they're right up on your tail and they're pushing you hard. So you're just getting pressured the whole time, whereas ice isn't nearly as much pressure. But in solos, they don't have as much pressure on you because you don't have the worry of their teammates focusing you down. So all you have to do was, like I was saying, is find a place that really negates it. Castles are huge. Like this area right here is just like a stone player's worst nightmare, because all you got to do is go here, fight them, keep fighting them, run back over here, and then the stone isn't going to drop off this. This is steep enough to where the stone can't go down, so they have to jump down to you. And you could just stand here. You don't even have to kite anymore. Stand here, keep hitting them. As soon as they're in the air, as soon as they're right in this position here, they're going to try to drop down and stone slam you. So as soon as you see that they're committing to dropping down at you, all you got to do is levitate and go back up. Hit them again. They're going to come back up, chase you. Same thing. Keep popping off. They start to drop down to here. You go right back up. And all you need is something like this to really negate a stone player in a 1v1. Like I was saying earlier, stone shapers are very reliant on their stone gauntlet. I mean, that's true for any class. If you have whatever class you're playing, you're usually pretty reliant on the gauntlet of your class. If you're playing Pyro, you're reliant on the Flame Gauntlet. If you're playing Lightning, you're reliant on the Lightning Gauntlet. And it's not necessarily because the class buffs it that much. It's just you just naturally tend to lean towards that main gauntlet hand. In the top tiers of players, that's not necessarily true, but usually if you run into somebody, they're going to be pretty main hand reliant. So if you're worried about the stone user using their second gauntlet, most likely they're going to be way less effective with it, and you just they're going to take a while before they even realize to use the gauntlet. So if you can just keep doing this little bait thing right here, you can probably do it maybe 2-3 times before they even realize, like, hey, I should switch to my other gauntlet. Now, I want to talk about the Harmony Fervor Recovery build. If you guys don't know, Harmony does damage reduction, Fervor does increase cast speed, and Recovery recovers your health over time. So it doesn't do shield, just health. But the Stone Shaper passive, every time you do a Shockwave, which is just the regular attack on stone, you gain 5 armor. So that's where the Fervor comes in for the cast speed, because you can just keep spamming this and keep gaining armor super fast. And then Harmony is just straight base up damage reduction, so it's really, really good. It basically makes Stone Shapers incredibly hard to kill. So with that in mind, the main one that personally I think the most overpowered of the 3 is Recovery. The other 2 are both just really strong in general. I don't think any of them should really be 2-cost talents, but they're all 2-cost, and that'll probably be changed in the future. But for now, Recovery, the closer you get to 0, right, the faster you're going to start gaining health. Because with Recovery, you're going to regenerate 50% of the damage taken over 10 seconds. If they have it upgraded, it's even faster. I think if it's fully upgraded, you regenerate 50% of damage over 5 seconds. This includes the health that they already regen. So say they take 10 health, they regen 5, and you damage some of that 5 health, that's also going to start recovering. So the closer you get them to 0, the more health they're going to be regenning, and it's going to be really hard to finish them off. And something that I noticed playing Conduit, even with the Lightning Gauntlet as a fully automatic, if you guys don't know, it's regularly a burst. If you play Conduit, its first talent makes it fully automatic. With it as a fully automatic, and with my full mana bar, the third skill on Conduit gives you 4 seconds of infinite mana, which is really strong, right? If you hit nearly every shot with a highly classed or a highly like a legendary rarity Lightning Gauntlet on somebody that's just spamming stone and has Recovery and Harmony, it is nearly impossible to kill them. You have to perfect range. You probably have to stun them, but I mean Harmony it prevents you from being stunned. So you can't stun them to prevent them from slamming the stone. You really just have to hope that you catch them at the right time where maybe they run out of mana so they can stop slamming, and then you can pop them with this. But this is where my advice is going to come in. To finish off somebody playing this build, you're almost never going to be able to do it with lightning or wind. It's not enough burst damage. You really need a big burst gauntlet like frost. If you can get off like a really good toxic slap, that helps. Or if you can get off multiple fire shots, that helps as well. And obviously stone hits like a truck too. So there's really downsides to using all of these gauntlets. I recommend learning them. If you're just reliant on one gauntlet and it's lightning or wind, then you're gonna have a hard time, especially in the meta right now. So I'm gonna talk about the downsides to using each of these to finish them off. Toxic, you have to be right up in their face, right? So see how it has all these little bursts that come out of it? The more of these bursts that you hit, the more damage you do. So see, if I aim over here and I hit just a little bit, I do 22. If I hit him in the middle, 46. But say I back up, 22 again. Even if I fly up here, 11. You have to be right in their face, and it's hard to get a Stone Shaper close to you, right? Because you're usually kiting, trying to keep your distance, because the more distance you have between you and the Stone Shaper, the less likely they're going to hit you. So with the Toxic Gauntlet, you're really going to have to find a way to close the distance on you and the Stone Shaper without taking too much damage. Because if you start running right at them, you're an easy target. If you try to levitate at them, you're going to run out of mana, and then as soon as you touch the ground, you're going to get hit. So basically, it's the same thing as before, as where you want to kite somebody. So we'll come back up to this castle. So say I am getting chased, and I'm doing this thing that I was telling you to do, where you jump up, you jump down, and you're getting them to chase you. So what you're going to want to do with Toxic, right, is you're going to want to jump up, you're going to want to slap them on their way up, and then you're going to want to get down. And then once they start coming down, you slap them again, and then you get up here, and then you can maybe do a little bit more damage here. And you want to try to get them in your face, but while you want to catch them while they're in the air. That's the trick, because as they have to touch the ground to hit you. So if you can hit them like while they're standing right here, it's pretty good damage. You have a pretty low range of spread there. So with Toxic, you want to kite, stop, do some damage, kite again, stop, do some damage, and just keep doing this move, stop, hit, move, stop, hit, and until they're just dead. Once they're low enough, or if you have like a Shadow Step, or if you're playing the Toxicologist class and you have Vanishing Mists, you can use your either Rune or your Vanishing Mist to close the distance on them and just slap them real quick, and hopefully you'll do enough. It's really hard to tell with recovery, especially when they're recovering a lot of health. That gets me off guard a lot of times, is I think they're one shot, I push in, I hit them a full shot, and then they still have like 3 health, and then it's just really hard to finish them off. So you want to make sure that they're one shot, or you just want to play it safe and kind of drag out the time until you can pick them down. So if you have the Fire Gauntlet, it's the same thing. It's just harder to hit shots at range with fire. Like, predicting these is pretty difficult at range. So you do want to try to get them to close the range. Same thing where you come up here, you stop, and you fire down at them. But with fire, you don't really have to... You can dance around a little bit more. You can play more in circles, especially if you have dash. You can like jump up, you can sideways dash around like this, shoot them in the back, they come back down, and you can just kind of just jump around and fire a lot more with fire and get more damage off and just kind of get them lost. Your goal is basically just to confuse them, right? Like, you want them to be trying to hit you, but to not even know where to aim. And then once they don't know where to aim, they're either gonna just start spamming and run out of mana, which it doesn't really happen that often. Usually you have to really get somebody scared before they start spamming, or they're just gonna be trying to look around and get like a sight on you, and they're not even gonna be slamming at all, and that takes away their armor recharge and makes them just a little bit more killable. But basically, if you're gonna push in for that final kill on Stone Shaper with Flame, you have to be sure that you're gonna hit multiple shots in a row, or that your next shot's gonna kill them. So I say I hit them here, then I'm gonna want to push like right on top of them, or as close as I can to where I can guarantee that next hit if I'm gonna extend out. Like I've been saying this whole time, Stone is just such a punishing gauntlet that you have to make sure that you're just not gonna get hit. Because even if you kill them and it's a 1v1 situation, if you get hit once and then you get third partied, you're just gonna be low already, and you lose half. If you have a gold belt, you lose half of your armor, and it's a lot to lose, especially when you're going into a new fight. And just to be safe, it's probably better to kite the Stone Shaper than it is to risk taking that extra damage. Another reason why it's a little bit safer for you to kite the Stone Shaper is because you can, since you're kiting, they're following your lead. So say the Stone Shaper's here, chasing you from this hill, coming straight down at me, and somebody's third partying me from over here, right? They're both pushing at me. So this guy's running in a straight line on this line that I'm looking at, coming right at me. Stone Shaper is coming right here. So you can recognize that, and what you can do is you can just go this direction. And if you look at the lines on the ground, right? So the Stone Shaper is running there. Now he's going to start coming this way. And then this guy is going to still be coming over here. And they're going to run into each other before they run into you. And that's going to be really good for you, because if you're getting third party, the best thing you can have happen is to basically flip the third party and make them fight each other, and then have you come back in and be the third party, even though you're in the original fight. You basically want them to start fighting and then you to come back in. That was a little off topic. I was talking about the Fire Gauntlet, but that's another big tip. I'm just kind of figuring this out as I go. Ice is simpler. Basically, just keep your distance. That's all you got to do. Keep your distance, charge up, take a shot. Ice uses a lot of mana, so make sure you keep your distance, shoot, try to wait for your mana to get back up, move again, and then just keep trying to kite. You don't ever want to push the Stone Shaper as an ice player unless you have like a fire or something off. But I'm talking about if you're trying to finish somebody with ice, you just need to keep your high ground. Even if they throw a boulder at you up here, it's not going to be that big of a deal. You just have to be careful not to freeze yourself, because if you shoot the boulder with the ice gauntlet, and it hits you, the mist that it makes will make you freeze. So you have to be careful of that. But yeah, so just keep your distance, hit your shots. Ice is not the easiest to kill a stone player with, but if you can hit your shots with it, you can pop them pretty quick. I'm going to try to summarize a list of basically what you should do in order when you realize someone's a stone shaper. And I mean, this works. This is going to make you better at fighting against any class. So first off, just assess the area that you're in. At the beginning, make sure you're not in an open field. If you are, move to a place that benefits you. Move to a castle, move to something. I mean, look, I was like right there, and then I one dash and a levitate, and I got onto high ground. There's not a whole lot of places where you're that far from high ground. I think I could probably make it from the bottom here almost all the way to the high ground. See how I kind of came behind these trees here? That is just making it harder for him to hit me, because he's likely to hit one of these trees instead of threading the needle in between them and hitting you. So get something in between you and them. Try to get to a place that gives you the advantage. 2, after you're in that spot, just use that spot to your advantage. Don't let them, they might not even chase you into here. If they're sitting out here and they're just slamming stone and they're just sitting out in this field, don't push them. Do not push them. Just make them come to you. Be the patient one. You can keep picking at them. You can keep hitting them with whatever you have. You can just keep poking at them, and then they're going to get frustrated because you're just going to be whittling down, doing all the damage, and then eventually they're going to push into you. Once they push into you, just play in circles. Play in the area that you made. Make them play your game. Don't play their game. Keep just moving. Keep keeping the high ground. Keep switching your heights and jumping up and down. These walls, these 90-degree walls, are your best friend because they can't hit down these, and you know that. This is basically the most consistent that you're gonna get with predicting stone shots, because like I was showing you back over here, sometimes it goes up this, sometimes it doesn't. If you can get on a 90-degree wall and you could just play around a wall or even a pole, then you basically win the fight. And then finally, once you get them low, try not to push them. Don't overextend into them, because they can easily change the course of a fight. All they have to do is hit 1 or 2 shots, which takes like less than 2 seconds, and then it's an even playing field. They've already healed back up with their recovery, and you've taken 100 damage for no reason because you overextended to try to get the kill too early. Just make sure that when you push that kill that you're going to be able to get it. With stone, it's all about patience. Anyways, I hope this wasn't too long and rambly. I hope I got my point across, and that last bit especially clarified everything. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, as well as check out the Twitch stream down in the description below. I stream pretty much every day, so if you can check that out, I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.